All right, in this video, we're going to take a look at the combine tool as well as the bridge tool. So right now we have two spheres that I have made here, and we're just going to take both of those and make them into one object. So I'll just select them both, and I'll click on the combine. And there we have one object between the two of those. Now it still has the remnants of the previous spheres, and so to get rid of those, we'll delete the history of this object. So we'll say Edit, Delete by Type, and we'll delete history, and those go away. So that's the combine tool. Very easy to use. You grab two objects or more and hit combine, and then it makes it into one. And then often you would delete the history of those of that object. So let's take a look at the bridge tool then, which is a little bit more complicated. We're going to first use the bridge tool on some polygons here. So let's grab these faces or polygons, and we'll click on this, and I'll hold down Shift and double click on that, and it selects all of those. We'll hold down Shift and do the same thing on this side, and now we've got both of those sides done. So one way we can select those interiors, we're just going to hold the Shift key and then hit our greater than sign or the period, and that expands that selection there. And then to lessen that selection, we'll hold down Shift again and use the comma or the less than sign, and that shrinks that down. So let's click on Bridge, and it creates a bridge of faces and polygons all the way across there, right like that. We can add divisions, right like that. Let's keep it fairly low. We'll say 8. We don't want to make more than we need there. We can adjust the taper here. You see we're not getting a huge change here, and mainly the reason for that is because of the curve type that we have. Right now we have a linear curve type. So let's switch this to blend. Now there is that other type called curve, and that you would actually have a physical line that the bridge would follow. I'm not going to demonstrate that today. But let's just use blend and see what happens now. Oh, look at that. The taper gives us a pretty cool result there. Now please note that if we had no divisions, that taper is not going to do anything. You need those divisions in there so that it can create that shape. So cool, that looks pretty neat. We can also add a little bit of twist in there, right like that. Right, so that adds another sort of look there. We'll put that back down to 1 to reset that. And then we also have a bridge offset. I'm not going to really mess with the direction and target here too much. But with the bridge offset, what that does is sort of acts a little bit like the twist in that it looks like it's twisted, but really what's happening is instead of aligning the ones directly across from each other, the edges across from each other, it's trying to sort of offset those a little bit. So just something to be aware of. Sometimes when you have objects that are together, by default, they'll look sort of off set from each other, and you can use that to fix it. So that's why that's there. So that's our bridge tool across the polygons. Let's demonstrate the bridge tool across edges now. Now, very, very common way of using the bridge tool is to span an area that's been deleted or never existed in the first place. So let's use these edges right here. We'll grab this edge and this edge right there. We'll go into our modeling toolkit and we'll hit bridge. And you can see it builds that right in, and that works super, super well. Now, just one thing to be aware of is if you start to add little things like taper and stuff and add divisions, right, it isn't going to work as well with this type of model because it just doesn't sort of work with a flat object now. Now, you can, however, add these divisions. Let's just add one, and let's see what happens with this over here after I get out of this tool. So I'll just go ahead and hit Enter, and we'll select this vertice and watch what happens. See, it didn't actually weld that in, right? So that's sort of a floating vertex on this aspect here. So we want to be really careful of how often we do something like that, unless we're planning on, doing a connect or a multi-cut and welding that again. For that, you can take a look at that that video to figure out how we would use those tools. But let's do the bridge one more time across these edges, and we can't do multiple edges at the same time. So we'll go ahead and select these, and we'll go ahead and hit bridge, and you can see, voila, it's added those in there. And in this case, at this end, right, we do have a single edge, but on this one, we probably don't. You can sort of see we've got these two here, and if I pull that up, oh, it looks like I may have grabbed. Let's grab the vertexes. It's probably a little bit easier. See, that is still open on that edge. So just being careful of that. Bridge tool, great way to close up polygons. And the combine tool, great way to connect multiple objects into one.